July. It's hot, and I can't believe I'm already starting seeds again. We are currently in the process of getting some stuff started to sow outdoors this fall. So that includes everything from fall veggies, spinach, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, as well as some of our natives, just to get a head start on next season. Today I'm going to try and get some broccoli and cabbage squared away, get them started. Are you getting your seeds started as well for any fall planting? I know it's not something everyone does. But I'm curious, if you do, what are you growing this year? Anything you're really excited about? I know for me, my biggest excitement points are my milkweed and my yarrow. Those two I'm going hard with. But I've also got some other fun things in there, like some agastaches, some catmint, some New England aster, feverfew. Joe Pie's the only one that hasn't germinated. And I did have to put some in the germinator, aka refrigerator. Let's see, what do we got? This one was a freebie. We grew this one back in the spring of this year, and it was fabulous. We got 2 viable heads, made some great dinner with it, so I think we're going to give that a shot again. Let's try this one. This is a new one for us. Heard good things about it. I think I have 72 yarrow plants that I started down there. And 72 plus milkweed. I mean, we're really trying to get ahead. Our goal is to get this property filled to the brim with native, perennial pollinator plants. That's the goal. We are not just trying to feed ourselves on this property. We are trying to feed every living creature that we can welcome in, because at the end of the day, they're just going to help us out with our garden. Our goal is to have all of these plants ready to plant out, at least the veggies, in probably middle of August, and then all of the natives I'm hoping September, October timeframe. I'm shooting for September, just so that their roots have enough time to nestle into the soil, get strong, and be able to provide for them over winter. Okay. Vermiculite actually is really helpful to prevent algae from forming on top of your trays. It blocks some of that light from penetrating and creating that bloom from occurring. Because as you know, you need moist soil to have germination, but moist soil and light and heat, well, you know, it leads to algae bloom. And what algae bloom does to your seedlings is that it can hinder the ability for those seeds to germinate. So the more you can keep that tamped down, the better health it will be for your seedlings. Now, if you do see some of it form, it's not the end of the world. My advice would be to let the top of your soil kind of dry out a little bit. I would also encourage placing something like vermiculite over top of that soil to kind of help shade the soil from the light a tad. And then last but not least, make sure you get some airflow in there. Airflow also helps to kind of dry the space out and not make it so stagnant to where that algae bloom can occur. Woo. Last but not least, I'm going to get a dome. This just helps to keep the area moist while we wait for germination to occur. Generally, I'll remove the dome once I see at least 50% germination. I'm obviously looking for more than 50%, but that's usually when I remove it. Here's the cauliflower I started back in June. As you can see, it's doing okay. It's moved past its cotyledons and it's starting to set its true leaves, as you can see there. And you can see the roots are also starting to emerge out the bottom. I'm definitely going to want to keep an eye on that to make sure it doesn't get out of control, because we may have to up pot these if it gets a little bit too massive. But they're looking pretty good so far. The only thing that's interesting is the germination. It looks like, at least with this particular one, I got 4 out of 6. Catmint's looking amazing. I might have to do an up pot on this sooner rather than later. The roots still look like they're not going crazy yet, so I'm feeling comfortable with that. But as you can see with our milkweed, I might need to do something sooner rather than later. We just recently up potted these. I first did like a small test batch just to make sure, because I do know these have a long taproot and I don't want to disturb that too much. And when you disturb the taproot, obviously your plant can suffer. So I did a small batch. They look like they survived and did okay. So I did the bulk of the rest of them yesterday and they're still looking really good. And I'm still also keeping the trays where they came from active, because we are still getting some sprouts each day. I'm trying to maximize. This makes a huge difference with your plants. Don't skip it. It's really important. I know it seems silly, but it works. All right, we'll check back in a couple days, see what's sprouted and how everything's growing. Hi, it's a new day. I was drinking my coffee this morning and I thought I might up pot some of our butterfly weed and just check on the seedlings in general, where the roots have gotten to a place where they might need a little bit more room to grow. So I'm up potting from the 6 cell tray and moving them into slightly bigger, nothing too crazy. We tend to follow a conservative up potting method. Essentially, instead of going from something small to really big, we just go to something that's maybe a step up. And that's mainly because of moisture and how that soil keeps that moisture when it's in the pot. We've noticed that when we go from something small to something big, the moisture isn't retained at the same level, and then the seedlings stall. In order to keep the conditions as same as before, we'll just put it into the next step up in pot. And usually with this method, there's a good chance we might have to up pot one more time, but I'm willing to do that for the health of the seedlings. When I do up potting, I probably won't do all of these. I'm really just looking to do the ones that have the most growth and or have the roots coming out the bottom. These others I'll let stay in there to continue to cook until they get a little bit larger. Milkweed is such an important plant in the ecosystem, especially for monarch butterflies, but I think oftentimes we don't talk about all the other moths and butterflies that also rely on this plant. Honestly, if you could plant one plant on your property, make it a native, and definitely make it milkweed. Now with the rest of these, I'm going to try a little experiment. With these trays, there are no more sprouts that are occurring. It's been sitting for a while. I've still got some stuff cooking in there, but with these in particular, usually we will recycle soil, but since these still have the seeds and they could pop potentially, I'm going to try an experiment where I throw them in the space where this milkweed is already growing. And if nothing comes up, then it's not really a loss. And if something does come up, it just kind of helps us along in that process. So we're going to go do that. As I was coming out to do this, I spotted my first of the season monarch on one of the zinnias over there and proceeded to chase her around the yard to get a photograph of her. Literally, what I'm planting right now, I just saw what that supports. Unbelievable. Sometimes I'll tell you, the universe. Since I have zinnias here, I can't really get into plant, so I'm just dropping it in there. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So it's been a couple days since we planted our brassica. Let's see how they're doing. Oh yeah, looks like we got our cabbages and our bok choy. I also took some blackberry runners that kind of had gone into areas I did not want them. So we're potting them up. We're gonna see if we can get them ready for some fall planting. Okay, it's been a couple days. Let's see how everything is sprouting. Oh wow, lots of good germination so far. All right, so far everything looks to be moving along as expected. We will most likely take the dome off at this point and just kind of monitor. The broccoli is germinating a little bit slower than the other things, but that's to be expected. I think I'm gonna end it here. As always, thanks for joining us on this garden journey. If you do want to continue to follow along and see what we're up to next, make sure to give a like, a subscribe, or leave a comment. Every little bit helps. Thanks for joining. Bye.